5 things you should never do after and during prayer. In this video, I will introduce you to the little things that weaken the power of prayer in us every day. Many people sometimes wonder why, despite their fervent and constant prayers, they do not receive from God what they ask for. The answer is because there are several negative habits that we practice without even knowing that ruin all our conversations with the divine, and that is what we will talk about in this short, educational video. It is important to be mindful and aware of our actions and thoughts, both during and after our prayers, to ensure that we are truly connected with God and that our prayers are effective. If you are also a victim of this type of situation and believe that God does not answer your prayers, it is probably because you are making one of the mistakes that I will mention in this video. Some of these mistakes may seem insignificant, but in reality they can create spiritual barriers that prevent our prayers from reaching their full potential. Stay with us until the end, because the 5th mistake is very serious, and most people make it without realizing it. You will be shocked to find out what this error is and how it could be harming your prayers with the Creator. Before you start, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and leave a like. Without further ado, let's start. The first mistake to avoid when you are praying is interrupting your prayer to answer a phone call. You must know that prayer is our only means of direct communication with God, and therefore it is essential to maintain connection and focus on Him. When you are in the middle of prayer, you should not talk to anyone else regardless of the urgency, as sometimes there are evil angels who take advantage of the voices of your loved ones to distract and divert your attention from the sacred moment of communion with the Lord. When communicating with someone and God at the same time, your prayer becomes weaker because your mind is not focused on God. Dispersion of attention compromises the depth and sincerity of your prayer. It is essential to remember that the power of prayer also depends on the concentration of the soul, heart, and mind completely focused on God. There are people who hate being interrupted during prayer, and with good reason. Therefore, it is important to communicate your prayer times to your family, friends, and colleagues, so that everyone knows that you are busy in this sacred time and should not be disturbed. This communication not only helps avoid interruptions, but it can also inspire others to respect and even consider the importance of prayer in their own lives. Furthermore, it is essential to create an environment conducive to prayer, away from distractions and interruptions. Choose a quiet, private place where you can fully focus on your conversation with God. Be prepared to give it your all at this time by turning off your phone or any device that might distract you. Respecting this moment of meditation and not allowing external distractions to hinder the spiritual connection is crucial to strengthening your relationship with God. Take this seriously. By doing this, you demonstrate to God that you value and prioritize the time you spend in His presence, which in turn reinforces the quality and effectiveness of your prayers. The second thing you should not do during prayer is eat, drink, or smoke. I'm not saying anything absurd, but everyone has time to do these things at different times of the day. However, when we come before God in prayer, it is essential to remember that we are in a sacred moment of direct communion with Him, and we must give Him all our attention and reverence. We often observe that people can talk on the phone for more than an hour without losing concentration, but when they are in prayer, they dedicate themselves to doing other activities at the same time. This reflects a lack of priority and respect for the presence of God in our lives. After all, He grants us the gift of life and allows us to carry out all daily activities, so it is only right that we set aside special and dedicated time to connect with Him in prayer without distractions or interruptions. Prayer does not need to take up the entire day. Just a few minutes talking to God can make a significant difference in our spiritual lives. Therefore, it is disrespectful to eat, drink, or smoke during prayer, as this shows that we are more concerned with our own desires and pleasures than with the presence and will of God in our lives. We must remember that God is a God of order and reverence, and He expects us to treat Him with due respect and reverence in all our interactions with Him. Therefore, during the time devoted to prayer, we should strive to focus completely on His presence, leaving aside all distractions and worldly concerns. Furthermore, it is essential to remember that God does not like to be ridiculed or treated lightly, especially during prayer. He deserves all our respect, gratitude, and adoration for His love, grace, and mercy in our lives. Therefore, I ask you to pay all your respect to God and thank Him for the miracles He performs in our lives. The third thing you should not do during prayer is make inappropriate gestures or behaviors. During prayer, it is recommended to maintain a respectful and serene posture, avoiding any sudden gestures or inappropriate attitudes that could distract the mind and divert attention from the sacred moment of communion with God. It is important to understand that prayer is a moment of intimacy and reverence with the Lord, and any distraction or lack of concentration can harm the effectiveness and depth of your communication with Him. Therefore, when dedicating yourself to prayer, it is essential to ensure that your body, mind, and soul are completely focused on the Lord, without allowing external interference or distractions. For example, you cannot have true communion with God while allowing your boyfriend to rub your back or while engaging in other activities that take your attention away from prayer. Prayer requires a total commitment on your part, where every part of you is dedicated to connecting with the divine. Regardless of the place or time of day, when you commit to praying, you must do so with sincerity and devotion, without letting anything stop you from communicating with God. Whether in bed, in the bathroom, or in the shower, prayer should be a priority in your life, as it is through prayer that you establish and strengthen your connection with the Creator. The fourth thing you should never do during or after prayer is leave the house. When you pray at night, for example, evil spirits try to discourage you in many ways, looking for distractions or situations that can divert your attention from the power of your prayer. Therefore, it is essential to remain firm in your purpose of communion with God and not allow anything to take you away from this sacred moment. If you decide to pray before bed, it's important not to be tempted to leave the house after prayer. Leaving home at night can expose you to negative influences and spiritual attacks, especially when dark forces are most active. By remaining at home after prayer, you are protecting yourself and strengthening your spiritual connection with the divine. Likewise, if you plan to spend the night with your family, partner, or friends, it is essential to prioritize your spiritual life and remain faithful to the commitment you made to God in prayer. Don't let worldly activities or entertainment take you away from the presence of the Lord after such an important time of fellowship and worship. It is important to remember that as children of the light, we must avoid the darkness and remain vigilant against the wiles of the enemy. Any carelessness or negligence can open gaps for evil influences. Therefore, it is essential to remain in constant prayer and seek divine protection at all times. The fifth thing you should never do during prayer is disrespect the prayer space. It is essential to maintain cleanliness and respect for the place where you dedicate yourself to communion with God, avoiding any behavior or action that could compromise the sacredness and reverence of the environment. If you have a specific space dedicated to prayer, such as a prayer room in your home, it is important to understand the importance of preserving the sanctity of that space. There are certain attitudes that should never be practiced in this sacred space, such as engaging in impure or profane activities, such as sex, for example. Maintaining the purity and sanctity of the place of prayer is essential to ensure a genuine connection with the divine. Furthermore, it is important to keep the prayer space clean and organized, as a tangible expression of respect and devotion to God. Although He is not limited to a specific physical location to hear our prayers, caring for the prayer environment is a way of demonstrating reverence and gratitude for the privilege of communicating with the Creator. Remembering that our duty is to serve God with all our hearts, and having a deep respect for His presence is essential to cultivating a life of devotion and piety. By honoring the prayer space and maintaining a reverent attitude during our moments of communion with God, we demonstrate our reverence and love for the Lord. May we always dedicate ourselves to prayer with a pure heart and humble spirit, seeking to please God in all our actions and attitudes. Amen. We have reached the end of this short educational video, and I hope you gained new knowledge today. I'm glad you're here with us. Comment below what you thought of today's video and what your opinion is. And if you liked the video, don't forget to leave a like and share this video on your social networks and WhatsApp groups. Tell us what you think in the comments below. May God bless you abundantly, and until the next video.